I'd like to welcome everyone to ModX Virtual Exchange. We have a webinar today with a number of folks from industry. I want to welcome you. They will each introduce themselves and then we'll get into this discussion. Today's discussion is about a project, the National Renewable Energy Lab. We are really pleased to have a number of folks. Of course, Ivan RUPNIK, another member of ModX, COLBY SWANSON, Momentum Innovation Group, Stacy Rothgeb and Shanti PLESS from National Renewable Energy Lab, as well as ANKUR Potter from National Renewable Energy Lab, and then Vaughn Buckley from Volumetric Building Companies. So let's have them each introduce themselves. Colby, go ahead.
Hi everybody, Colby Swanson with the, sorry, I'm getting my my acronyms mixed up, with Momentum Innovation Group, and we are supporting the Nrel project as an industry liaison between the sort of research folks in the lab and the folks out in the field.
Thanks, Colby. Stacy.
Stacy Rothgeb, National Renewable Energy Lab. I work in the buildings group. Background's mostly in buildings research, both on the residential and supporting the commercial side. A lot of research close to the industry, so a lot of workforce development and helping builders actually do better.
That's great. Thank you, Stacy. Shanti, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Shanti PLESS, also at Nrel, been there about 20 years or so. Historically focused on zero energy buildings in the commercial buildings group at Nrel, and been thinking about ways to get more energy efficiency, more renewable energy integrated into buildings like multifamily and the hospitality sector for enhanced energy efficiency, lower cost, better integration, and hopefully finding ways to do that using the volumetric modular industry.
Thank you, Shanti. And joining us from Nrel also is ANKUR. Go ahead, ANKUR.
Thanks. ANKUR Potter from Nrel, background in architecture and working with Shanti and Stacy at Nrel for focused on industrialized construction innovation for multifamily and other commercial buildings, and bringing in design for manufacturing and assembly concepts into integration of energy efficiency and solar and storage aspects to the construction. Thanks.
Thank you. And then Vaughn Buckley, go ahead.
Hi everybody, Vaughn Buckley. I am the president of the Volumetric Building Companies. We're a vertically integrated modular manufacturer. We do our own design and manufacturing, and we are a member of Nrel's most recent research program, which has partially been held in our facility and others, and the founding member of the Modular Mobilization Coalition.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for joining us, guys. One of the things that ModX has noticed in our own research is the importance of public initiatives in growing the industry, and we've seen that. We saw that in North America through Operation Breakthrough a lot in the 60s and 70s. We've seen that in Japan. We've seen that in Sweden. We've seen it in the UK. And what we've tried to do is to understand what are the benefits, what are the best practices, what are the results that have come through in these initiatives. And that's also what brought us to Nrel. So one of the things we've noticed across the board is how these initiatives have helped de-risk investment in R&D, how they fostered a culture of knowledge exchange, something that we notice is a challenge in the industry, the sensitivity towards individual IP and how we can move the industry forward. And it's also helped develop standards. These kind of initiatives have helped develop standards in the industry. I know it's something that the industry in the US is also looking to do. And again, it's also the public involvement as well as academic involvement has increased public awareness and confidence in these systems. So today, again, Nrel's done a really interesting job, and we wanted to kind of unpack Nrel both from the initiative as well as from participating companies, and in this case, Vaughn and Colby can also speak about it as participants. So back to Ryan.
Thanks, Ivan. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been interesting to learn about how government initiatives and coalitions have formed around certain topics internationally. And in particular, today we're going to have an opportunity to learn about a project through Nrel that tries to do that exact thing through a network, and some of the players that have played in that space and on that project. So as far as describing the project, I think we're going to have Shanti and Stacy talk a little bit about the project and some background on it. And then after that, we'll go to Vaughn Buckley and talk about how the project relates to his company and what value it brings to the company and how he's participating. And then to Colby, and what is your role in the project and your company. And then finally, we'll end this call by discussing the Modular Coalition that's related to the COVID-19 that Vaughn and Colby will also discuss as it relates to the project. So with that, I will turn the time to Nrel. Go right ahead and describe the project if you would. Would you like to share a screen or just talk verbally? What's your...
Yeah, I think we can just get right into it. Yeah, this is Shanti here at Nrel. So, and maybe Stacey, I want to call on you real quick. If you could kind of walk us through the Building America program. I think from Nrel's perspective and the Department of Energy, the Building America program is a long-term industry engagement program that has been running for many years, and we look to as a successful way research, building science can engage directly with the home builders in that program, in that case, as a way to bring new technologies to the single family marketplace through demonstration projects, building science, advanced modeling. So, you know, Stacey, I'll get into our project in particular, but if you, any thoughts on how the Building America program that you've been working on, or Solar to Cap on, have kind of the foundation for what we're about to get into?
So what makes Building America unique is that it's an industry-led research program. So it's been going on for 20 years out of the Department of Energy's Building Technology Office. And it's where you're actually doing, we're interacting with builders in the field and understanding what gaps they have to implementing energy efficiency and clean energy technologies. And we're addressing those gaps with them in actual homes and buildings out across the nation. So what is unique about it is that, you know, then because they are so close to market, these technologies, that they can be easily translated into both code adoption, design guidance, quickly adopted. The other program that Nrel supports is the Solar Decathlon program, which is promoting good building science education. So we understand that for us to build better buildings, to have higher performing buildings, we need good design teams and good construction managers, architects, engineers. And the way to do that is to insert that strong building science curriculum in the university system, and even further back into, you know, getting good recruiting out of high schools through STEM education. So these are all pieces that kind of build up to where we're looking at how we innovate the construction industry going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. I think that's a good kind of history, I guess, if you will, of how we've engaged with industry to try and innovate and bring technologies forward to the industry, to de-risk or to identify new technologies that have to be kind of developed in a laboratory, right, and to really address market needs. And so one of those over the last few years we've been engaged with is seeing the emerging idea of manufactured multifamily projects in volumetric modular factories as an idea. I think that is starting to scale. That the level of integration, the level of productivity enhancement that that industry and those projects that like VBC are trying to move forward was a great platform for us to embed, if you will, energy efficiency strategies, so that as the codes improve, as things like zero energy codes in certain states and cities start to be expected, that the volumetric modular industry is prepared to be able to deliver on that cost effectively. And so that the evolution of, say, every 3-year code cycle, we can start to get ahead of some of that. And so what we've been able to do, and we're in year 2 of a 3-year research and industry engagement project, is to figure out what energy efficiency strategies are the best set of approaches for multifamily sector that can take advantage of the benefits of building apartments in factories. And so not all efficiency technologies that you could think of are, have benefits of being approached as a in a manufacturing setting. This idea of design for manufacturing, right? Or lean manufacturing, lean construction being applied now to energy efficiency strategies, right? Historically, our barriers are always about it costs too much, it's too complicated, there's not enough on-site labor, it takes too much time, and for us reaching, say, zero energy. And so the volumetric modular industry is trying to address those issues and just building better buildings faster and cheaper, and with better integration, better quality. So we felt like the needs in energy efficiency in multifamily were directly approachable for the volumetric modular industry and the benefits that come along with that. And so we kicked off a program last year where we partnered up with 4 volumetric modular companies across the United States, 2 steel based and 2 wood based, and took a look at their current designs, their baseline efforts, what they currently deliver, and identified a handful of efficiency strategies, things like better air tightness, integrated mechanical pods, utility cupboards as they call them in the UK, things like better quality of construction, right, and which means better air tightness and better opportunities for even getting below codes, below 3 ACH 50, for example, on a factory line, to better smart apartment control platforms, right, that take a lot of on-site coordination. And so what we've figured out is any efficiency strategy that we can integrate as part of the compartmentalized product that's installed in a factory and not on site allows us to have a more embedded energy efficiency strategies. So we've been at it for a year and a half now. We've got a great website up. We've been collecting data with factory partners, understanding how efficient they are, using tools that the manufacturing industry uses all the time, called things like discrete event simulation. We're able to model time and motion studies on factory floors to look at how we might change things in a production process to be more effective. Look at cost trade-offs, time trade-offs of different efficiency strategies, and bring as much as possible into the compartmentalized apartment. And so that's led us to strategies that that instead of on-site mechanical systems, for example, that we're trying to figure out how to compartmentalize a complete hot water heating, cooling, and ventilation system, all as a single integrated design for manufacturing product that would streamline both the factory install, but also move all that scope into the factory rather than on site. Right? So all those strategies can take advantage of manufacturing under a roof at a factory rather than on-site construction that has historically led to those challenges in zero energy buildings we've talked about. So it's been exciting, right? Thinking about ways to move construction from construction and installation to manufacturing, right? And the benefits that come along with economies of scale and mass producing, and the quality control you get from that process, and the expectations of if you want to install something that's a little more complicated, historically would cost too much because of the training you need for some on-site personnel to install. We now have an opportunity to train a new workforce on a factory line to be able to do that right and do it repeated and cost effective. And so the economics of a lot of these efficiency strategies are different. And so we're starting to see opportunities to utilize off-site construction, volumetric modular, to address our affordability challenges and now our energy efficiency and renewable energy goals that a lot of cities and states now are putting in place that are trying to simultaneously solve their affordability challenge and their energy challenge in their buildings. So quick snapshot there, Ryan. I could keep on going, but I want to give others a chance to chime in here.
No, that's really great. And just talking about the infrastructure, you said you have 4 factories you're working with. We have one of those factories on the call today, president of that factory, Von Buckley, which we'll talk to in a moment. And you have an advisory group as well that Ivan and I have been participating in. How many are on that advisory group from industry?
It seems to be growing on a monthly basis. Colby, I don't know if the last time you looked at that list, maybe 50 or so, I think, of various degrees of participation, and we've got working groups where we, of that about 50 or so folks, as you can imagine, there are lots of different topic areas that they're interested in, and some are more active than others, but we've got a pretty active one focused on a integrated mechanical pod, magic box, utility cupboard, as the names go, right? And all trying to figure out how to create this product of integrated mechanical utility pod. And so that's an active ongoing group. And so there's, we have topics in smart apartment controls. We have topics in better envelope. We have topics around, we talked about HVAC. We have a topic about kind of the manufacturing approach, as well as on the codes, right? The energy codes, as well as the other code issues that come along with changing how we build with volumetric modular. So may have been it's been, and the Modular Building Institute has been a great partner as well to kind of get the story out to the greater industry that is the factories and the design teams and the owners out there. They're looking to this sector to to be more productive.
Well, that's great. Vaughn, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is the project doing specifically with your company, and what value does it create for your company?
Yeah, so far we've tried a couple of different types of technology, including bringing in some vendors like AeroSeal and others to evaluate the impact of duct and envelope sealing methods. They're looking at our construction details and working with our engineering team to try and figure out what ways we can build a better product. I think what's most exciting to me about being in the project is that we get some real life data. One of the biggest challenges that our industry faces is a whole lot of anecdotal evidence. Every single factory owner out there can tell you what works and what doesn't based on how they feel, which up until now has been our exact motivation as well. Well, we feel that it's not worth it to do this extra sealing effort because it's not going to result in extra money from the client. Well, it's hard to say that when you can't tell the client how much money they're going to save by doing it. And we can't tell them how much money they're going to save by doing it unless we do it and save that money. So having a government partner involved that's willing and able to provide us both the support, the testing, the vendors, and the publicity necessary to get the message out, means that our industry as a whole will, based on the data that is developed at our factory, have the opportunity to make those informed decisions. And that's not something that they're going to be willing to invest in individually, just like we wouldn't have. But when we're able to do it as a group and say, well, let's create this information together and share it, then as an industry, we can do better.
That's great. And you just said, produce this kind of data and information and then share it. I mean, something that's been remarkable, I think, about your company, Vaughn, is you not only being at the forefront of setting up multiple factories, being vertically integrated, which is very unique, but also being willing to learn and share information continuously is pretty fantastic. Why do you see value in that, versus holding all your cards close to your chest?
Right. Well, I think that the industry up in certainly in most industries, holding cards close to the chest is because you have a competitive advantage, or you feel that you can retain some of that value if you use it only for yourself. There are certainly folks in the industry that still operate that way, and a lot of them have every right to do so because they've created something special. I don't feel that what we're trying to do, which is give our clients a good product, is something special or something that should be unique to our organization. This is something that the entire industry needs to do if the entire industry wants to continue to grow. Our goal has always been major market share, and that doesn't come by one company creating something special, keeping it for themselves and getting all the clients. We have more than enough business. We're not doing this to grow our pipeline or grow our backlog. We're doing this because we believe in this construction method. And in order for this construction method to mean something to people who aren't in this industry, they have to see how special it is. And part of that is sharing. So I hate the phrase, rising tide floats all boats, but the analogy is clear. And that is that if we're going to do this together, then we're going to have a better opportunity of changing the way that construction is done in the United States. And we can't do that as any single individual or company. It's much bigger than us.
Thank you, Vaughn. That's really great. Colby, I'm going to move to you now. Just talk about Momentum Innovation Group and what your role is in this project, and how you see it moving forward in the last 2 years here.
Yeah, thanks. So I think, well, Momentum, first off, is really about helping the industry adopt technology. I mean, we're really sort of pushing players to look at different ways to build, look at different products, look at technologies. And as Vaughn just said, the modular offsite industry really has a lot of key advantages. And the only way that those advantages are going to start to really become mainstream is if the industry can work together. And, it's projects like this that we like to get involved with at Momentum to sort of liaise between what the government can provide as far as support in research and support in visibility with the industry folks. And so right now there's these 4 factories. You've got BBC, you've got Full Stack, Factory OS, and Skender are the industry partners, and each of them have their own projects going on. So what we do is work with those different project players that are involved in those factories. So Mitsubishi is supporting us with the MEP project, the MEP pod. We've got AeroSeal, who's already been in Vaughn's factory out of Oregon State University. We've got a crew that are doing a digital twin. So they're actually they're recreating Vaughn's factory and all the processes that go into that in a digital virtual world. And then we've also got Marriott involved. So our role is really to try and connect a lot of these disparate players that all have the same goal in the end, which is to build better buildings, build more buildings, and do it at a price that is competitive. So, that's really kind of what we do at Momentum, is to try and, pour gasoline on the fire and make it happen a little quicker.
Oh, that's great. Gasoline on the fire is a good analogy.
Usually I say jet fuel.
No, it's pretty remarkable, and we're looking forward to seeing the results of this partnership and what Nrel is doing. Any preliminary results the Nrel team can share with us? Things you've learned already that would be helpful for people to know about?
Yeah, let me give a quick example. I think one first on the aeroburial pilot we did, where we tried looking at air tightness of modules coming off a factory that had no real air tightness goals. It's just kind of the inherent air tightness you get in building under a roof where your wood never sees moisture, right, in rain, and you get a little more quality and tolerances and such. So you'd think that the air tightness of the shell would be better, right, inherently. And I think we saw that, and where you might get 6 or 7 or 8 ACH50 on a multifamily project that has no air tightness goals, just kind of tested without anyone really caring. And the units that the team tested coming off of the BBC factory this past year were in the 3 to 4 ACH50. So for those cities that already have air tightness testing requirements, that's about kind of where code is now at this point. And so, as some of the emerging best practices for air tightness, getting down to say passive house levels, or below around 1 ACH50, the extra step it takes to get down to that level on a factory floor and repeated process is pretty clear. And so if we can get down to that level, we think, and through our digital twin modeling of around 30 minutes per module extra to do that down to that 1 ACH50, there's a lot of value there. And that's something like 40% less time than that it takes to do that level of air tightness for on-site construction. So we're seeing significant time savings.
That's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so, we've got our call. I want to call on ANKUR here to give us a little of his thoughts. He comes from an architecture background at MIT in India, and has been working some on this idea of linking up together some of the design tools the industry uses to be able to think about better integration of energy modeling and or these digital twin. So Ankur, any thoughts there you want to, I'm calling you a cold here, but you've seen in kind of even just the promise that comes along with integrating some of these manufacturing tools, the digital twins and energy modeling tools, and the actual architectural tools that are out there.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Shanti. Absolutely. There, from my kind of experience with even like working with a company in AEC, has been, and a lot of people in this call we know about that, standalone tools and a lack of interoperability between data flows and how you can actually start doing more of like input data collection and then using it throughout the workflow. That's something that a lot of manufacturing industry, like in automobile, right? They have, or aircraft building, they have kind of created these systems of software tools as well as on the manufacturing side, right? Like a lot of computer-aided manufacturing tools, which are all connected. But within the AEC industry, been like experiencing even the education side, how we're taught like multiple softwares, right? And then we kind of like have to wayfind ourselves throughout that. And so there is definitely some value in looking at more of an integrated workflow. And as part of a project that we are currently performing at Nrel is leveraging the existing software tools that Nrel has been working with, which is on the building energy modeling side, and mapping it to more of generative design tools, which gives some of those energy performance results early enough in the early design phase, right? And that includes more of lifecycle analysis tools too, which exist, but they don't exist integrated to the everyday tools that AEC uses. And so there is an ongoing effort at Nrel with our team where we are trying to develop a framework of industrialized construction and how you can, how a modular builder can assess and understand the entire process, where by interacting with a potential factory information model that gives a lot of these results, and begin to take more informed decisions on how they want to do their design at the early stage, as well as how they want their factory to look like in order to leverage some of those best practices.
That's great. Yeah, Ivan, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of follow up a number of the topics with some questions that might be more provocative. So one of the things that's really changed the conversation broadly in modular has been, for example, the McKinsey report has tried to quantify the cost of the lack of productivity. And I bring that up because, for example, the modular industry has been chasing cost and speed for a long time without necessarily promising performance qualities. And one of the things that I hear particularly from Shanti's initial response to what's been success is demonstrating that certain building performance goals that we've seen as being overly costly, now through modular construction or through better manufacturing, there are numbers that, and then correct me if I'm wrong, there's numbers that now can say, hey, this not necessarily modular construction, it's not even an argument particularly for modular construction, it's an argument that we can achieve building performance criteria that we were not able to achieve at cost, at a comparable cost. So what are there other things that, or are there other things that are on the horizon even more broadly? That's one that seems to be, that's being achieved. Are there other broader goals within Nrel, or even is Nrel creating other platforms that maybe Vaughan and COLBY want to speak? Is there other things that we can start to set that we need to quantify? For example, Vaughan, I mean, this is a question for Vaughan too, that how do you quantify what you've done and most modular manufacturers haven't chosen to do, which is vertical integration? How do we quantify that? Or how do we quantify the value of automation? Are there other things that, can we build on the Nrel model? I mean, can we understand the Nrel model? What's actually worked at a high level? And what are other kind of goals that we can start to think about moving forward that are very tangible, that are industry-wide, that this kind of model of collaboration can solve?
I'll jump in. This is Shanti again. If you follow the solar industry and the residential solar industry in particular, there's something called soft costs, which the Department of Energy has spent a lot of time and effort trying to figure out why, when you get, say, solar installed in your roof of your house, it costs $3 a watt installed, and the panels themselves only cost, say, 30 cents a watt, right? And there's a lot of other kind of soft cost, installation costs that come along with a project like that. And so, and there's a lot of innovation around permitting and, online ordering and, standardized designs that are starting to help there. But again, that's installation effort, right? And so a lot of what we're learning in, increasing productivity in construction applies directly to that industry as well. And we've seen factories that have installed solar where they can on the roof in their factory before the modules leave the factory, down to, say, almost a watt installed, $1 a watt installed. And so removing a lot of that extra overhead of soft costs of going up and down on ladders, right? Or, just all the kind of the inefficiencies that come along with, working on a roof, being able to be addressed by doing it in a repeated way on the factory line.
So not just, again, but to repeat, just to clarify again, what Nrel is doing is it's another example of taking a costly technology out there in the building environment, and by bringing it into the modular factory, it's bringing the cost of that system, right? And can we say also, this is something that's a question for me, Vaughn, does that help take a product? I guess one of the things we've noticed is that there's actually too much value in the modular process as opposed to conventional construction, and there's too much capital cost. And that's something, again, we've seen in Japan with seismic, we've seen in Sweden with the actually performance of the supply chain, not just the building performance itself. How do you pay for what is actually a capital intensive investment? How do you quantify, how do you bring additional value into the surplus of abilities that a factory has and then conventional construction? And I guess I'm trying to zoom out a little bit because to understand really, because from an outsider's point of view, this may be helpful for you guys to think about what are like the really tangible, because it sounds like those are, solar panels and high performance passive house is something we can achieve more cost effectively in a modular factory than outside of it. Is that something that we can say now with some confidence that Nrel is starting to at least point to?
Yeah.
I'll respond to that. I mean,
Yeah.
some of what we're doing here is that so many of the learnings, 20 plus years of learnings that we have related to high performance building come back to quality and risk mitigation. And so what modular construction, factory built construction brings to us is they already have an eye on that level of quality and risk mitigation. So it's a very small lift to take it to higher performance. So I kind of view it as like an unrealized benefit that they're already doing, and if it's just a small additional effort, the performance could be that much higher. I think another interesting overlap is affordability, because so many of these projects are looking at multifamily and looking at like affordable type housing, and there's another overlap with energy efficiency there, is that these are communities that are much more sensitive to these energy costs. So any small effort we can do to find a higher synergy has exponential benefit.
Colby, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, I think one of the key differences about this project that I really appreciate is the mix of players involved. The stakeholders aren't just, a binary, let's say the factory and Nrel, but it's the buyers of these product, it's the product suppliers, the ability to bring in all the different players who are going to help solve this very difficult challenge that we have in front of us of how to build buildings better, faster, and forever. It's been too, I think, just singularly focused and not really multidimensional in its approach. In this project, we need more like this. We need more things like what you guys are doing, Ryan and Ivan, where you bring more stakeholders to the table and we discuss the complicated nature of our industry, and we hit it, full on with everybody's perspective. And it's really, really tough to do, but this whole project is, I think, a really good example of that happening.
Vaughn, let's go to you, and then we'll finish up with a discussion about MMC. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, my thoughts on this are that our industry and our offering is often focused on total installed cost. And I think that everything that the team here is saying about how the more complex, the higher ability there is to save money in a factory can be true. It all depends on the factory. There are different kinds of manufacturers that build different kinds of products. So if you have a low volume, high customization plant, you can absolutely put more complexity into the product and get a more efficient output. But at the end of the day, we are manufacturers. And for us to manufacture, we have to design for manufacturing and assembly. And that's not something that has been well thought out throughout the supply chain. It's one of the reasons that we've vertically integrated. It's not just about changing the building materials, changing the scale, and changing the product. It's about changing the input and changing the output. We have to get developers that want a product that's based on design, that is based on manufacturing. And it's not a natural inclination to consider things in that way. 9 out of 10 projects that have government money that end up needing to meet affordable housing requirements and want some of these energy efficient details that we're talking about on this call come to us or come to any factory post design. So they come to us as a savior. They want modular manufacturing to help make their budget pencil. And that's not where our efficiency is. Our efficiency is not in taking somebody else's design and making it modular friendly. And so if we really design for manufacturing and assembly, and that's why we vertically integrated, it's honestly not the right choice for every factory. I'm not out there to say that vertical integration is the way of the future, but it's helped us to connect the beginning and the end of a process in a way that we can shift our client's opinion from total installed cost to total installed value. And that's where the whole market has to start focusing, is how can we put more into this? Best analogy I have for you is that it costs any factory approximately the same amount of dollars per square foot to produce product that is easy to finish as it produces to cost product that is hard to finish. So until factories are focused on how do I get my client a product that's easier to finish in the field, our total installed value is going to go down and our total installed cost is going to go up. Focus on design, focus on the efficiency in the field and the completion aspect, and you'll have a better product. Your client will have a less expensive finish. It'll be quicker. Quicker and less expensive means more opportunity to have risk mitigation. And it also means that when things inevitably go wrong, there's more money in the budget to take care of it when you're trying to work through some of those finishing details. So design, design, design.
That's great.
And how can you achieve, I mean, to your point, I mean, how can someone choose to ignore vertical integration and still make the promise of producing something more that's cheaper, not even better, but just cheaper and more cost efficient, when in fact they are trying to do what a conventional builder does better?
There's a short answer and a long one, so I'll try and keep it as short as possible. It's about having the right team in place, and so our team happens to be our team. It's all VBC. We've got VBC architects, we've got VBC engineers, we've got VBC factory, and VBC supply chain. But as long as you have a supply chain and an architect that is understanding the manufacturing and the construction portion of the team, then I think you can achieve that same goal without necessarily owning all of the pieces or operating them, because it is highly complex. And so the short answer there for me is that vertical integration I don't think is necessary to success, but an understanding of the vertical is mandatory.
Good answer. Been really good. I wish we could spend another hour, but we just have a few minutes here at the end. Want to see if Colby and Vaughn, if you could tell us a little bit about this modular coalition and what you're trying to do as a response to COVID-19. Please go ahead, Colby.
Yeah, I'll tee it up and let Vaughn tie a bow on it. So the Modular Mobilization Coalition, which was getting me mixed up when I was trying to describe who I was in the beginning, is a united effort by the industry to really come together and do something that any individual company couldn't do by itself. And So collectively now there are 30 factories nationwide that's separated across 25 independent small business companies. And what these companies have all agreed to do is to build a standardized footprint, a standardized box. And in doing so, the scale and the speed at which they can build this and deliver it and deploy it out in the field is unmatched. I mean, there's no industry coalition like this in our industry that could deliver the volume that it could deliver in the time that it could do it. And it's never been done. And it only happened because of the crisis, right? We now have this coalition started. We have done a good job to organize. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to hit our stride in time on this disaster. And so what we need to be thinking about is how do we leverage this for the next time so that we are ready and so that our industry can support, you know, whatever disaster it might be. Vaughn?
Yeah, I think that your point about what we can do together, I think ties back into the last discussion about vertical integration here and what's necessary. And I think that it's not just the fact that as multiple factories we can leverage each other and help support something in faster output, which is the whole goal of the Modular Mobilization Coalition. It's to produce more product in a short amount of time to respond to crisis events like this one. But it's about the fact that each factory can now operate on the same platform, the same technical platform, the same design, the same supply chain, the same integration, have the same experience building the same product. Now we can start to collaborate better. You know, right now it's difficult to collaborate when we're all building something different, but when we're all building the same, now our ideas make more sense across the technical platform. Our supply chain can be more nationalized, and we can start to benefit from things that we've never been able to benefit from before because sharing either felt proprietary or it compromised what we were doing and didn't necessarily provide us benefit. Now sharing makes sense. I think of it like the app where you have to click that you want your information to be shared when you have a bug report. Previously, that didn't matter when we had a bug in a factory line because my bug didn't help you fix your bug. Now they're all ours. So how do we get to a place where we can use that information to make ourselves better? And that's the power of the platform, is that we can make continuous improvement a part of our day instead of our own internal operation.
I want to thank everyone for coming and participating in this call. Where can we find more information on the web for both of these efforts? Shanti, where can we find information from Nrel on this modular project? And Colby, where can we find some more information about MMC?
Sure, I'll get started. Yeah, if you take a look at the industrialized construction innovation page at nrel.gov, you'll be able to get lots of details on publications, presentations, posters. As we learn, we'll be posting and sharing through the Modular Building Institute as well.
That's great. Good.
For MMC, you go to a website. It's mmc-us.org. You can also go to LinkedIn and look up Modular Mobilization Coalition, and you'll see the page there.
Great. We'll put some links in connection to this on LinkedIn. Thanks everyone for joining, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.